And I would really appreciate it if you would stop Rob Taylor from blathering on and on.
Opinions expressed by talk show hosts, callers, or guests on the Rob Taylor Report do not necessarily represent the opinions of the hosting platform, subsidiaries, sponsors, or possibly anyone else on the planet or the known universe. From the tinfoil and lead-lined broadcast bunker on the beautiful southern coast of Oregon, it's the Rob Taylor Report. So strap yourself in. Your weekly political therapy session is about to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the nearly famous Rob Taylor.
Hey, Coos County, how you doing? Hello, Oregon. How you doing? Hello, America. Are you doing okay, America? I kind of question that. But I want to thank all of you for joining me today. We have quite a bit to cover. In fact, it was one of those days where, it doesn't matter what battles you win, doesn't matter what battles you lose. When you get to my age and you've been in politics as long as I have, you come to the realization that this is a never-ending battle. Jefferson said it well. This is the eternal fight. And sometimes you just get tired of fighting. You just, I really thought about just crawling into a tequila bottle and having a good time instead of doing this today. Because it really isn't fun coming on here and bemoaning the fact that we have a government, local, state, federal government, doesn't matter, that's out of control. And I'm going to be going back 16 years on today's show to talk about something that we did back in 2008 and 2009 that has a direct link to what the county did just recently. And we're going to cover that. We're going to be talking about some protests that are coming on, and we're going to be talking about an all ages drag prom. I don't know what the hell's up with that, but we're going to be talking more about that. And then I've got a couple of issues with the legislature. We're going to be talking about the bills that they are going to, that they're meeting on. In fact, I'll probably go to one of the meetings here in a few, but, let's see, I got a comment. Let's see what Ashley says. Hello from Roseburg, Oregon. Hello, Ashley. It's so wonderful to see you. And one of the things I do want to talk about, because he was near and dear to my heart. I've lost a lot of good friends over the years fighting in politics. I've gained a lot of friends. I've made a lot of good friends, and I thank all of you for your support, for your loyalty, for showing up and being there when we needed you. And one person that was always there, who's been there going back to 2008 and 2009 when we were doing the Tea Party. And like I said, I'll talk about that here a little bit later. I remember him and his brother was at a rally that we did against Obamacare and the bailout that they were doing for major corporations. And I met two people that became, they're lifelong friends. They're still friends to this day. And that was Sam Brown and Tom Brown. And eventually I got to meet Sam's wife, Cynthia Brown, and Tom's wife, Nancy Brown. And a couple of years ago, Cynthia passed away. It was devastating. The woman was our photographer. She would go to events and she would stand off on the sideline, and she'd have this huge lens, this telephoto lens, and she could zoom in and take pictures of all the counter protesters and people who were giving us problems. But she would also catch really good pictures of us. I need to catch up with Sam. We need to get some of those pictures, because I bet you it's a treasure trove of images for this county. And Cynthia was great at doing that. Well, this past Thursday, I didn't find out till Friday, maybe it was Saturday, that a good friend of mine, Tom Brown, had passed away. And if you don't know who Tom Brown is, this is Tom Brown. That's Tom and Nancy. And Tom was a true patriot. Tom showed up for all the events. Tom was there in the mornings when I was gathering signatures for the petitions. Tom would be there to help put up the tent, the pop-up tent. Tom would be there at the commissioners meeting. In fact, the last time I saw Tom, he was getting into it with a couple of guys who are supporting the drag show. I don't know what kind of real men support drag shows, but I guess they exist here in Coos County. And an all ages drag show. It wasn't just a regular drag show. This is an all ages drag show that you, the taxpayer, paid for. And this was going on and being voted on by the Coos County commissioners. And Tom was at the commissioner meeting, 8:30 in the morning. He was there bright and early, ready to go. He got up and I believe he gave testimony on it. And he always was very outspoken, very, very outspoken. And I guess he was on the roof and he had a heart attack and he passed away on Thursday. He was roofing, but on that morning, on last week on Tuesday, or actually it was Wednesday morning, he was at the commissioners and he was arguing with these two guys out front about the drag show for all ages. And the cops kind of had to get between them because it was getting really heated. And of course I walked out because I would always back up Tom or anyone who might be threatened or in danger of being hit or punched or spit on or whatever these leftists do. And don't say they don't do it because I've experienced it myself. And so it was really cool because Tom was doing what he loved. Tom was doing what he loved. And I know that it's sad that he died, but I'm thankful that he died quickly. Here's the thing: when you get over 60, your biggest fear really isn't dying, it's the way you die. And I've seen a lot of people, a lot of very strong, energetic, intelligent people get those degenerative disease like Alzheimer's and dementia, and you watch them lose themselves. You watch their memory goes, you watch their body deteriorates, and this can go on for years. I watched it with both my grandmothers. I watched it with several different relatives. My father-in-law just went through that just a year or so ago, and that to me is worse than just dying. Dia is saying who Tom Brown passed away, and we're going to do something very special for Tom. We're going to have a flag procession, and we are going to celebrate his life in one fashion or another. And if you're interested in that, you can send me an email, Rob at Rob Taylor Report, or give me a private message on Facebook, and I'll make sure that you know all about this celebration for Tom's life, because it's well worth it. He was a patriot. He was a true blue patriot. And here's the great thing about Tom. Talk about a guy. There's so many jackasses and politicians who are such narcissistic pieces of crap. John Sweet, Drew Farmer, narcissistic pieces of crap who, I don't think they really give a damn about anyone other than their political careers or their careers overall. And so when you have a man like Tom Brown, who he never looked to get into political office. He never joined up any of the groups and seeked out any of the executive positions, because almost all nonprofits or political action committees or political parties, they all have an executive board. He never sought to be on those executive boards. I mean, he was a volunteer. He helped with election integrity and he did the hard work. And that was what is impressive about him. He didn't seek the limelight. He didn't seek the action positions. You know what I mean? He was a worker. He was a dedicated worker who showed up, would gather signatures, or as far as election integrity, he was giving classes and helping out on hand counting and all that good stuff. He was a great guy. He was a great guy. Al Sexton says it. He was a good man. Yeah, he was an incredible man. He was an incredible man. Dea says, is this the one that went missing? No. He didn't go missing. He had a heart attack on the roof. they revived him, from what I understand, like 45 minutes later. I'm not sure if he was passed and they were able to revive him, but then he passed again. But it was pretty fast. It was pretty fast. And like I said, I'd much rather go quickly than to slowly wither away and lose everything that I ever had over several years, and then have people, and in some cases, people you don't even know taking care of you. That's the real scare for people my age, not having a heart attack on a roof. Having a heart attack on a roof and dying immediately, that's actually how most of us people my age, that's how we prefer to go, quickly, real quickly. Let's see, Dia says, having what Robin Williams had would have had me unlive. Wait a minute. Have had me unlive also in its Dia pronounce love. Dia. I'm sorry, Dia. I'm sorry for your all loss. Thank you, Dia. Yeah, she says, oh my, reviving is still 0.1%. Yeah, you don't always survive when you get revived. You know, I was I know people who've been through that experience, and I believe he was on the ventilator for a while. I'm not sure how long he was on there, but it was a sad situation. And so we're going to celebrate his life because he deserves it. He's earned it. And Tom, I know he was a Christian. He was a believer. If there's a heaven, Tom is up there right now with a lot of good people. Charlie Kirk, he's having dinner with Charlie Kirk. I really want to believe that. I really do. And I know the Christians do. And I think that's beautiful. I think that's why it's such a beautiful philosophy. It's a beautiful theology that you can still have eternal life after living, well, the life that you've had to live here. So, yeah. Peggy says, I pray I go in my sleep. Yeah, that's my way. I just want to go to bed and wake up dead. That would be the best way to do it. But yeah, I don't think we get choices. We don't get choices like that. So Tom, you will be missed. And Nancy, I hope the best for you. We'll be fighting for you. And believe me, you've got a lot of support out there in the community. We love Tom, and we love you, and we love the things you're doing. So that was how I wanted to start out today's show. I wanted to give a special thanks to a special friend before I got into the government stuff, because we got to get into the government stuff. You knew eventually that's where we were going with this. And let me see if I can find some of the pages that I wanted to send to you folks, to show you folks the Oregon 6-day session. It's already begun, and they're having a meeting. And of course, the big one is SB 1599. That's the referendum. Let me see if I can share this on here. I'm sure I can. This is it right here. And if you are not familiar, let me see. If you are not familiar with the Oregon Citizens Lobby, then you're missing out. You're missing out on some good stuff there. But the Oregon Citizens Lobby is one of those nonprofit groups that it's a good NGO. They're actually monitoring the legislative process here in Oregon. It's a great thing, and if you want to be a part of it, you should. They're really good people. Let me see if I can increase the size of this. There we go. SB 1599 moves referendum from election day to the primary date. That right there, folks, is the Democrat Party, the Democrats in charge, subverting democracy in Oregon. The people of Oregon went out of our way to put signatures on a referendum, get that referendum to the Secretary of State, have that referendum approved for the November general election. We did that. You did that. It was a good thing. And of course, the leeches and slime balls in our Oregon legislature, I don't have anything good to say about them. most of the Republicans aren't much better. We've got there's a few Republicans. I don't want to castigate them all, but this is a bad thing that's going on. They are subverting, and this was a meeting that took place at 1:00. I didn't get to finish the meeting. I don't know where the bill is now. I imagine it's probably going towards the House. I think it's either going to go through another committee or it's going to go to the House. I haven't really seen. Let me see if I can find it on the legislature. 1599. Yeah, let's see if we can find it on the legislature. And that way, here we go. Let me share this tab with you. Okay, you can see this tab now. And this is the Oregon State Legislature. This is SB 1799. Let's see the measures history. We had the public hearing. That's today's date. Let's go to the public hearing and check this out. A lot of opposition. Look at all this opposition. Look at all this opposition that they received. I went through this earlier and I didn't find anyone who said, yeah, I want to pay more for gas. I'm stupid. I want to pay more. I want to pay more for the same stuff. Yeah, that's me. I'm really stupid. And look at this. Look at all these people who oppose this bill. You think that matters? You think that matters to these legislators? I don't think so. So let me see. Here is the meeting. Let's see if the meeting is still going. It's still going. Let's see. Let's see if maybe they're still on there. Let me share this tab and let's see where they're at. Let's go ahead and play this.
Good afternoon, everyone. And I'm going to call to order this meeting of the Joint Special Committee on Referendum Petition 2026-302. Today is the 9th of February. And as I look over the agenda here, this is the first time this committee has had an opportunity to meet. So we have some procedural details to take care of, and then we're going to move immediately into a public hearing. But I wanted to thank everybody for their service today.
Let's skip that. Let's skip that. Let's see if we can move ahead.
Representative Scarlato is virtual. If he could raise his hand so we can make sure that we don't miss him. And I'd invite Representative Boyce. Representative Boyce is here. Representative Reschke.
Reschke's a good one.
Please.
Boyce, not so good.
And
Not so
as
good.
we
But at
get
least he's doing it
underway,
right
the
there.
next panel that I'm going to be calling on so they can make sure they're in the room and in the reserved seating that we have will be Will Hobson, Jack Tibbetts, and Catherine Rolls. So they'll be called on after we're done with these first two panels. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us this afternoon. Whoever would like to lead off.
Co-chairs Jama and Gomberg and members of the committee. My name is Ed Deal and I represent House District 17, East Salem through the majestic Sandy M Canyon. I am here today in strong opposition to Senate Bill 1599. I oppose this measure not simply because it changes an election date, but because it fundamentally alters the balance of power between the legislature and the people of Oregon. The people did exactly what the Oregon Constitution reserves to them. They gathered signatures, they forced a referendum, they claimed their right to vote on a law passed by this body with the clear understanding that the vote would occur in November 2026. The Secretary of State confirmed that in writing to us. The petition has qualified for the November 3rd, 2026 general election ballot. That's not ambiguous, that's not tentative, that is final. Folks, this ship has already sailed.
Yep.
And the people of Oregon know it.
Yep.
Once a measure's been referred, the legislature's role is over. The question belongs to the voters, not to us. And yet this bill attempts to claw that power back, changing the election date after the fact, rewriting procedures midstream, and placing control of the explanatory statement and fiscal analysis into the hands of a special legislative committee after the people have already demanded a vote. This is not neutral administration. This is undue influence over a process the Constitution deliberately removed from legislative control. The referendum exists for one reason: to check the legislature when the people believe we've gone too far. And outside of these marble walls, this is how it looks. The people already feel that the governor and this legislature jammed this policy through the first time. They felt ignored. That frustration is exactly why they exercised their referendum power. Now it looks like you're doing it again, changing the date, changing the rules, controlling the message. That is not respect for the people's check on power. It's an attempt to manage it.
Damn right.
I believe this bill is unconstitutional. You may disagree. You may argue it's technically legal, but legality is not the same as legitimacy, and this is not what it's for. In closing, I'll ask you plainly, who is it that we work for? When the people call for a vote, the legislature should step back and not step in. Thank you.
Damn
Thank you,
right, Ed
Representative.
Deal.
I
He's
gave you a
right
few
on.
extra moments there. Of course, any extra time we take here is going to cost somebody later, but
I know.
Representative Reschke?
Good afternoon, co-chairs Gomberg and Jama and members of the Joint Special Committee on Referendum Petition 2026-302. For the record, my name is E. Werner Reschke. I'm the state representative for House District 55, which includes Klamath and Deschutes counties. I know there's a lot of people here, so I'll be brief. Famous New York Yankee Yogi Berra once said, "It's like it's deja vu all over again." And I can't think of a more appropriate saying. Less than a year ago, this legislative body, during the long session, tried to put together a transportation tax. It failed mostly because the people were against it. Then a few months later, during a special session, 94% of the testimony was opposed to an increased gas tax, payroll tax, and DM fees. Then the voters signed a petition in near record number to oppose this tax, saying they wanted to vote on it in November, which brings us to today, to this moment, and Senate Bill 1599, which aims to change the date from November to May. Looking at the testimony online, it is overwhelmingly opposed to changing the date. And that's where my theme weaves itself in here. I've said we, the 83rd Legislative Assembly in Oregon, aren't listening to the will of the people. Whether it was a $15 billion tax, whether it was a $4.3 billion tax, or whether it was to vote in November, we keep closing our ears and not listening to the people. I would highly recommend that this committee start listening to what the people want. For in my humble opinion, it's why we're here, to represent them and their will. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative.
Thank you, distinguished.
And I don't want to really listen to Court Boyce. I can pretty much hear him in my head. I know what that guy sounds like. So these are the Republicans who are opposed to it. Ed Deal actually did something more than most Republicans do. He actually was a chief petitioner on the legislation, on the referendum, not the legislation, on the referendum for the people to choose to put this bill on the ballot. And that's what we did. That's exactly what we did. And anyone who thinks that this is something that the Republicans are making up, even our liberal news is starting to realize that there seems to be something rotten in Denmark. I think that's the term, rotten in Denmark. I'm not sure if that's the exact term, but I want to play a news clip from about 3 weeks ago with Governor Tina Kotek. And just remember the testimony you just heard, and then put this interview with the governor on top of it.
If you expect your elected leaders to always get it right, you're going to be disappointed. But what you need from your elected leaders is persistence and a can-do attitude.
Tonight, K2 is on your side asking Oregon Governor Tina Kotek tough questions about the failure of the transportation bill. We also got her response to claims Democrats in the legislature are protecting the governor in her reelection bid by sending the referendum to voters in May. Republican gubernatorial candidate Christine Drazan and others say Democrats want to avoid having that question on the same ballot Governor Kotek will be on when she runs for reelection. Thanks for joining us tonight at 6. I'm Ray Casaway.
And I'm Deborah Knapp. K2's committed to going in depth on the stories that matter to you. In fact, tonight, Christina Giardinelli will bring you those answers from the governor and hear from Republicans why they want to vote to proceed in November as planned. We're getting a clearer picture of how the funding gap will impact ODOT We'll explain how we got here and why repealing the bill is likely no longer an option.
We have team coverage for you tonight. K2's Vasily Varlamov has the latest on potential cuts to ODOT. The agency shared a proposal this week to eliminate hundreds of positions amid a more than $240 million budget shortfall.
But first, let's go to Christina Giardinelli, who met with Governor Kotek today and asked those tough questions. Christina, what was her response to Drazen's claims?
Yeah, I asked her whether or not that claim was true more than once, but she declined to give a yes or no answer. I also asked her how she feels the failure of the transportation bill reflects on her and her ability to be reelected. Yeah, Republicans claim that the transit bill question was put on the primary rather than the general election to avoid having it be on the same ballot as your election. Is that true?
The legislature is in charge of that entire topic. It's going to be determined by what they want to do and what the Constitution says, and they are making decisions on their own.
But as a Democratic Party, you guys you talk to each other. You're deciding this as a leader together as well.
Well, again, it's up to them. And what is key is that voters are going to get to vote on this.
She went on to say that she is focused on moving forward.
I'm concerned on the here and now that our agency will be here a year from now, maintaining our roads, plowing our highways during the snow.
Yeah, that's all you need. That's all you need, is our agencies actually being able to do the job that we pay them to do. And believe me, they have money. This is the thing that's insulting to the taxpayers, is they have money. They've just allocated to the wrong agencies, to the wrong places. They could probably take ODOT itself, who's lost millions and millions of dollars over the years. I mean, it's just incredible the amount of money ODOT has lost. And they could take the ODOT itself and probably rearrange it so that ODOT really has the money. I'm sure they have the money. And when you talk to people who work for ODOT, and you can't get any of them to come on camera because they're terrified of losing their jobs. They're terrified of the retribution that will fall on them if they actually speak up. But I've talked to at least probably about a half a dozen of these ODOT workers. Some of them came in to even sign the petition. It was really cool. And they were afraid to sign the petition. That should tell you something what about the Democrats. When you have union ODOT workers afraid to sign a petition because they think that the governor and the Democrat Party is going to seek retaliation against them, that's a form of tyranny. That's a form of oppression. It's horrible what people are going through. And they're telling me, these people from ODOT, that there's a huge amount of waste in the agency, that they could sit there and cut waste all day, that they see the waste all the time happening in ODOT. Let me see. I got a few comments here and I don't want to. Dia says, how was she elected? Yeah, that's a good question, Dia. How the hell was this woman elected? It's just crazy. With all the gambling we have here, we have plenty of money. And that's the other thing. Yeah, there's plenty of money for vice. There's plenty of money for vice, but that's really not the problem. They have a lot of vice in their agencies built into their own budgets. They got a lot of DEI and woke vice. That's what they got going on. And just the fact, if you got rid of the DEI and all the wokeness in the ODOT agency and get it out of the government itself, it still doesn't matter because there's a lot of other things that are just as wasteful that they spend money on. And this whole meeting, I don't know. Let me see if I can get to the end of it and see actually what they said. Let's see if, nope, there's more testimony. Let's see if we can get to the actual meeting at the end here and see what they went to. Okay, 116. Okay, here's the last 4 minutes. Let me see if I can get this back on stage here. And let's play this last 4 minutes of today's meeting. This happened just today, just an hour.
Legislators up for re-election in November. An earlier vote avoids linking this controversial tax hike to the general ballot. I just ask that you oppose this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Youngman.
Let's see if we can go further down the road.
You are too. Yes, I opened for 48 hours for written comment. So there's an opportunity to provide some additional feedback to the committee. I understand we've received a number of emails so far but there may well be a lot more of them in the next 2 days. So do take that opportunity if you missed the chance to testify for us this afternoon, or want to get back to us in writing. Ms. Leone, anything else I need to take care of in this public hearing? All right, I'm going to then conclude the public hearing. And colleagues, we are going to gather again on Wednesday. And at that time, we will be in work session. We will be looking at, if I'm not mistaken, some financial information and some explanatory information for the ballot measure, as well as the bill that's before us and any possible amendments. Colleagues, anything else before we adjourn?
Oh boy. Oh boy. So we get to wait till Wednesday to find out what these people are going to do with our money. And Steve Nye, he made this comment here. He says, can we talk about the cat tax? Yeah, I would love to talk about the cat tax, but I just don't have time to go into it. Anyone who doesn't know what the cat tax is, it's a tax that it's a tax on your gross revenue for any business that makes over, I believe, $1 million. It's absolutely ludicrous. The amount of money that one dispensary is paying here for their cat tax would pay off our second pod for the jail. That's how much money they're taking out of our county because of the cat tax. This is crazy. But Steve, I got something even more disgusting that we have to talk about. We were just talking about the gas tax here, and that's bad enough. But there's another tax on another bill in the legislature right now that they want to impose on us. Let me see if I can put that up here. Let me make sure it's being shared. Nope, of course. Let me share this. You're going to love this, Steve. You're going to love this, Steve. Oregon Senate Republicans Caucus, they just sent out a press release today. This came out today. It says Senate Democrats one step closer to raising taxes on local businesses and working Oregonians by $311 million and advancing Senate Bill 1507. Now, this is a completely separate bill than the bill that we were just talking about. So, they love to get us in both directions. I tell you what, it's like there's no end in the amount of taxes that they're really willing to put on us. But let me read this a little bit. It says Salem, Oregon, Senate Democrats are sending a bill to the Senate floor that would strip $311 million in tax relief from local businesses and working Oregonians and the rest of the 2025-27 biennium following the party line passage of Senate Bill 1507-7 out of the Senate Committee on Finance and Revenue. Committee staff confirmed the bill is a revenue positive tax increase, despite Democrats' attempts to frame it as not revenue generating. No, it's going to take money. It's going to take money out of the economy. Small business and working Oregonians could lose out on hundreds of millions of dollars if needed tax relief in the next few years because Democrats are creating a loophole to funnel it into the state's already bloated budget instead. That's tax increase, plain and simple, said Republican leader Bruce Starr. Democrats can't have it both ways. You can't claim to be focused on affordability while taking away tax relief from the very people who need it the most. If the goal is to truly to end the doom loop and improve Oregonians' economy, this is the wrong approach. But that's what Democrats do. If they didn't have a wrong approach, they'd have no approach at all. Let's see here. It says we're in competition with other states. Idaho is competing for our businesses. Arizona has already plucked some of our best, and Texas and others would love to lure away our remaining manufacturers. It's very true. It's very true. And they got a lot less taxes than we have, folks. But I continue. It says Senator Mike Lane, Vice Chair of the Senate Committee on Finance and Revenue, Senate Bill 1507 sends yet another signal to businesses and investors that Oregon isn't willing to cooperate and encourage growth the way the other states are. We have a governor who has said making Oregonians more business friendly is a top priority. Bullshit. We'll see if her actions match her words if this bill reaches her desk. And so Senate Bill 1507 removes Oregonians' tax deductions on expensive machinery and equipment purchases, car loan interest, and gains from small business stocks, because God knows in Oregon, we don't want anyone making any money. So Steve, I would love to talk about the cat tax, but I'm too busy talking about the other taxes that they're trying to shove down our throats. And so, yeah, I agree that the cat tax needs to go. This tax does not need to be enacted. And the tax that they just put on us, the gas tax, needs to go up on a referendum, and it needs to go up on referendum in the general election. Let's see if I have that here. There was another thing that I want to relate to what Ed Deal was saying. Let me see if I can remove that and add this to the stage. This just came out from the Secretary of State's office. It says the election division received a certified ballot title from the Attorney General on February 6th. So this just came out on the 6th. For referendum petition 2026-302, proposed for the November 3rd, 2026 general election. This is a type of referendum. The caption reads, it increases fuel taxes, registration title fees for roads, taxes on wages for public transportation services. And that's what we want to get rid of. And of course, the chief petitioners were Bruce Starr, Ed Deal, and Jason Williams, three really good guys from the Republican side of the aisle. But that came out today. That was just in the on my email, and not today, but a couple of days ago. So they're lying to you, folks. Our law, our Constitution, when the people speak, we said we want this on the November ballot. The Secretary of State has said that it should go on the November ballot. And I don't know if we're going to be able to get a court challenge if the legislature actually passes this bad bill to put this referendum on the primary vote, because that's a bad idea. We want the governor to have to choke on this during the whole entire campaign. When she's out there campaigning, she should be having to ask the question, why do you support taking more money out of the mouths of babies and hungry people? Because that's literally what she's doing. There's a lot of hungry people. There's a lot of hungry people out there who don't live the lifestyle they should live. Why? Because we're way overtaxed in Oregon. And people go, well, some people just don't know how to manage their money. Well, it's not even about that. It's about the fact there's a lot of people who know how to manage their money damn well, and they're not being allowed to do it because the government is taking it. And I can guarantee you that private businesses and individual can manage their money better than anyone in the government. You show me anyone in the government who can manage my money better than me, and I'll show you a damn liar. It's pretty much as easy as that. So this is what we're looking for in the legislature this year. It's very depressing. It's very depressing. So that was one of the things that was, going on today. And like I said, I didn't know whether I wanted to do the show or actually just crawl into a bottle of tequila and call it quits. That's pretty much where I was at with all of this. So now I've kind of got to take it down to the county level, because the county is doing some crazy stuff. And at the last commissioners meeting, not only did we give money for an all ages drag show, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, but the county decided to give up the management of the Coos Bay Wagon Road to the Coquille Indian tribe. And yes, I got up and told them, you might as well cut down some freaking trees. And here's why. It's not because the deal that the county has with the Coquille Indians is a good deal. It's a lousy deal. It's a very lousy deal. But we're to the point where if we don't cut those trees down, we're going to lose it. We're going to lose those trees. We're going to lose them to disease, and we're going to lose them to infestation. We're going to lose them to fire. I can guarantee you there's going to be a fire, the overgrowth that's growing on the Wagon Road lands. And the problem is that the only way to actually manage the land is with the county to send up some loggers up there. You remember loggers? Loggers, yeah, they're guys with axes. And we're not talking about serial killers. These are actual people who do a job. They have chainsaws, they have axes, they have saws. They're incredible people. And we need to put those people to work again. And it would have been great if the county was able to do that, but they're never going to be able to do that. The federal government isn't able to do that for them. And part of the problem is that the executive order from the executive office, from the administration, from the President Trump here, he can only do so much. You know, Congress has acquiesced a lot of their authority to the president, and that's why our president is having to push a lot of these executive orders out, because that's the only way he can get things done. Now, he's done a couple of executive orders, and one of them had to do with opening up and managing our timberland, and this is why the county is moving forward with this contract. And let me show you, let me add this to the stage. Here was part of the EO, the executive order that came out from the president on timber and forest management. A March 2025 executive order on immediate expansion of American timber production references tools like agreements or contracts with Indian tribes under the Tribal Forest Protection Act. This act allows tribes to enter agreements to protect tribal forest or perform services on adjacent federal lands, but it is not a new Trump creation nor a broad mandate for tribes to manage federal lands. It's updates for guidance for existing authorities. The Indians already had the authority to do this. This just gave a few more updates and guidance so that Indian tribes can now manage our federal lands. And which, you know, people go, well, that sounds great. Oh, that's a great way. The Indians can, you know, they can make a living off of managing our lands. Well, what about us? What about us making a living off of managing our lands? You know, I have nothing against the Indians. How many Coquille Indians do you think there are? Probably 2,000, 3,000 Indians. How many actual Coos County citizens are there? $65,000. Well, get this. We're going to split the profits that we make off of the timber harvest of the Coos Bay Wagon Road. We're going to split it 50-50 with the Indians. That sounds fair. 3,000 people are going to get half of what we have off our land, and we're going to get half of what we get off our land. And we got a lot more people. It doesn't seem quite fair, does it? And on top of it, this is such a bad deal that the county's entering into. And of course, John Sweet loves it. John Sweet, he's been wanting to give away our lands for a long time. I mean, he shut off our public lands for the forest lands for the county. He shut them off to motorized vehicles. So what did you expect from John Sweet? By the way, he's up for re-election. He's 86 years old, and that's probably 86 years too long that he's been here on the planet screwing over his fellow citizens. And so, of course, he wants to give away our land because he doesn't give a damn. The problem is that a lot of people don't realize that many of the Republican states, such as Arkansas, such as Texas, such as many of the states on the East Coast, some of the southern East Coast states, Florida, all of those states, anything that's east of the Mississippi, less than probably 10% of their land in their states is owned by the federal government. But you go west of the Mississippi, you go to states like, well, look at the West Coast here. You got Washington, that's a Democrat state. Oregon, Democrat state. California, Democrat state. New Mexico, that's west of the Mississippi, Democrat state. Nevada, Democrat state. Democrat state, yes. Colorado, Democrat state. All those states, the one thing that they have is that almost 50% or more of their state land is owned by the federal government. So that's why a lot of times you'll see the Republicans, they don't understand that when these Indians start managing our land, well, then the Indians start going, well, you know, we're doing such a good job managing it. Why don't you just give it back to us? It was our land to begin with. And by the way, the Coquille Indian tribe, they sold the Coos County land, the Wagon Train Road land, that was sold to the county. That the land that we have here, that was actually sold to us. We've got a receipt. You can go see the receipt in the county clerk's office, the records office, of where the Indians sold us this land. So when people go, oh, you stole that land. No, actually we paid a price for this land. and it's ours, fair and square. And I don't know why we're giving it back, because the county could manage the Coos Bay Wagon Road just as well as the Indians, but the feds aren't going to allow them because, like I said, a lot of the Republican states to the south, they're for having the tribes manage their federal lands because they don't have any federal lands. Of course, it really sucks for those on the west side, but then again, we're Democrat states, so maybe they just don't give a shit. I don't know. I really don't know. But let me read you the second thing that was put out by Trump. It says revocation of pro-tribal policies. This might help us out, and I'll tell you why after I read this. Trump revoked Biden's EO, the Executive Order 14112 from 2023, which promoted tribal self-determination, and which is bullshit because we pay for the tribes. Self-determination, pay for yourselves, casino owners. Including co-management, co-stewardship, and other agreements for federal program services, including on public lands. This revocation via the March 2025 rescission order rolled back expansions of tribal roles in stewardship of federal lands, waters, leading to concerns about reduced tribal involvement. In other words, he told the Indians, screw off, we're not going to give you any more land. And of course, the Indians are incensed. Yeah, we're upset. And I don't care. Once again, this is if we won and conquered your land in the wars, you know, the American Indian Wars, well then so be it. To the victor goes the spoils. In the case of Coos County, we actually bought it from the Indians, so we didn't kill any Indians. We bought it from them. So that's just the way life goes. Maybe they made a bad business decision back in the mid 1800s. I don't know. It's not my fault. But the fact is that the wagon train road could be managed by the county just as simply as the Indians. But because of executive orders, they're going to try to push this through. They will push it through. They have to, because the government, the federal government, is never going to allow the counties to manage that land. They're never going to allow us to have authority on land in our own county. And that's sad, because I think if Trump was really pushing to get local control back to localities like Coos County and the cities of Coos County, one of the things he would do would get that federal land back to the county and the management of that land back to the county. It's never going to happen, folks. And we're out of time. We've got to cut those damn trees down. So the county's got a contract with the Coquille Indian tribe. We're going to split 50-50. But here's the real kicker. You're going to love this. The county has to cover the expenses incurred by the Indians. So we have to split 50-50. And like I said, there's 2,500, 3,000 Indians and 65,000 Coos County. Yeah, we got to split that 50-50, which doesn't seem quite fair, but that's okay. We're going to split that 50-50. And then we, the 65,000, we have to pay for the expenses of managing that land. So I imagine after this contract is made, after the Indians get their 50%, and then they charge us, they're going to charge us for all their but all of a sudden, their aunts and uncles are going to be expert on forestry management. You watch, the Coquille Indian tribe all of a sudden, the Coquille Indians are going to be experts at managing the forest, and they're going to need paychecks. And of course, we, the county, we're going to cover that expense. So we're going to get screwed on this deal. And our only saving grace for the county is that this same president opened up the ONC lands, and the Congress granted the ONC Congressional Act of 1937. It just reinforced it by saying that the county should get the 75% split between the county and the feds on the ONC lands, which is completely different from the wagon road lands, the Coos Bay Wagon Road lands. That was a congressional act from 1939, and the ONC lands were a congressional act from 1937. And so we are going to get a little boost for the county from the ONC lands, and we might, if we're lucky, if the Indians don't scalp us completely, we might be lucky enough to get a little bit of money from the Coos Bay Wagon Road land after I don't know, 40 years of fighting over it. It's kind of ridiculous. And of course, John Sweet is going to put a feather in his cap, which is kind of appropriate now that he's wearing an Indian headdress. He's going to put a feather in his cap, and I don't know, John, sometimes he's an Indian wearing an Indian headdress, and sometimes he's a drag queen lover. I don't know. John wears a lot of different hats, and they're all freaky and weird. But I guess that's what happens at 86. That's what happens with your life. You just get a little bit crazy and do crazy things. So that's what's happening at the Coos County Commissioners meeting. And if you don't like the deal, give your commissioners a call and let them know that you don't like the deal and that you don't want it. But I can tell you right now, it doesn't matter, because if the Indians don't cut down those trees are going to burn. Those trees are going to die. Nobody's going to be allowed to cut them down. Now, here's what I might do if I was a commissioner. Now, of course, the commissioners we have, they don't have the balls to do this. But if I was a commissioner, and I know Chris Castleman would probably, I think I've talked to him about that, we would create an emergency. There would be an emergency, a county emergency, stating that we have to protect our job as a county government. We've got to protect our people. And to protect our people, we got to make sure that they're not going to burn up in the wild forest fires that are going to occur on the Wagon Train Road because the government, the federal government, refuses to manage the land properly. And so I would have voted for that. Of course, if I was the only one there, I'd be the only one voting. But let's say me and Chris Castleman and maybe even Rod Taylor were on there. What would happen if we voted for that? If we happened to vote for an emergency, we hired a crew of loggers to go up there and take out some of that land and thin it out under the Emergency Act that we passed as a county. And whatever we sell, we'd be willing to split 50-50. We get 50, the feds get 50. But we had to do it under an emergency because they were going to let our property burn. It would have been a risk. Our county probably would have been sued. As commissioners, we probably would have been sued. But at a certain point, you got to give a middle finger to the tyrants who are running our government, whether it be the state or federal government. And remember, I'm not calling our President Trump a tyrant. I'm calling the bureaucracies under Trump, which still have a lot of swamp critters in the administration, as far as the Department of Interior, the Department of Agriculture, both of those departments. And by the way, the Bureau of Indian Affairs is under the Department of Interior, and the Bureau of Indian Affairs is one of the most corrupt agencies in the entire administration. It's one of the most corrupt. It's one of the most racist agencies. They're a horrible, horrible agency. So for us to be giving money to the Indians when it should be going to the citizens of Coos County is another insult. And once again, you can blame John Sweet and, of course, Drew Farmer for that. Dia says, with all the gambling we have here, we have plenty of money. Oh, wait, no, we already got that. Steve says, John Sweet does care, but he needs to retire. The county crumbled under his leadership, and it's because he is too nice of a guy. Not his fault directly, but an element of the issue. Bullshit. Steve, I'm calling bullshit. No, John Sweet knows exactly what he did. He's a calculating politician, a consummate politician who doesn't give a damn about anyone around him except for himself and looking good. He's got to look good for his peeps. And of course, now his peeps include the drag people at the drag show. That's his peeps now. But no, John Sweet has never been someone that I thought was out for the people. I never believed that. I've seen his work. Let me tell you this, Steve Nine. Do you think John Sweet, you think he would protect your Second Amendment rights? Do you? Because he didn't. No, we went to the commissioners when John Sweet, Melissa Cribbins, and Bob Main was on the board of commissioners, and we asked them, hey, Oregon, the state of Oregon is passing a lot of regulations to take away our gun rights. And we want to pass a Second Amendment preservation ordinance, which allows the county, it gives a directive to the county not to enforce federal and state gun regulations. Pretty simple. Do you think John voted for that? Hell no. Hell no. And I had to go out and by the way, I was talking about Tom Brown. Tom Brown was one of the top signature gatherers for that petition. And we went out, and I forget how many signatures we had to gather. We got the signatures, we put it on the ballot. But during the meantime, I put up a recall on John Sweet. We didn't get enough signatures. and the time allotted to recall that SOB, but he should have been recalled. And I don't know how he keeps getting reelected. Obviously, there's a lot of people benefiting from the John Sweet gravy train. A lot of those drag queens definitely are benefiting from the John Sweet gravy train. But I personally, Steve, I have no like about John whatsoever. There is nothing to like there. The man is a consummate politician. He'll tell you whatever he wants you to hear. I'll give you an example. Let's go ahead and take on, let's go back to one of the issues that we were talking about from the Friday night rant. Let me put this on screen. John Sweet, you know, we went to him this past Wednesday and asked him not to vote, or to vote to take away the funding for this prom. And it was being funded by Coos Health and Wellness right there. They were the featured partner. Now, I don't know about you, but if people want to have a drag show, that's up to themselves. I don't want to pay for it. I don't think you as a taxpayer probably, do you go to work your ass off every day? You go to work 8 to 10, 12 hours a day, 5, 6 days a week, so you can give your money to a bunch of drag queens? Not me. That's not what my life's about. But Coos Health and Wellness, they were going to give $200. Sure, it's only $200, but it was never about the $200. It was about Coos Health and Wellness. It was about Coos Health and Wellness being on that poster to legitimize the perversion. See, they didn't need the $200. In fact, we were willing to pay them the $200 right there at the meeting. I mean, Drew Farmer could have settled this and taken our offer and pulled Coos Health and Wellness off the preferred partner on this poster. We could have eliminated that, and then it wouldn't have been legitimized by the taxpayers. But now this pervert show, this pervert prom, this pedo prom is now legitimized by you and me, the taxpayers, which is absolutely disgusting. Well, here's the thing, Steve, let me tell you about John Sweet. I had talked to several people that had called John Sweet complaining about the money going to this drag show. And John was honest with him, and he told him, I'm not going to vote. I'm not going to vote to take away the name, because we have a contract with Coos Health and Wellness, and according to their equity clause, we have to support things like this, which is bullshit. John just lied to people who he's supposed to represent. And he was telling Rod Taylor, the other commissioners and stuff, he was giving them the clue, the hint that he was against the money going to drag queens. So Rod thought, oh, he might have a chance. He might have a chance to persuade John Sweet to support his amendment to get rid of the money going to this prom event. Well, John Sweet never, ever planned on giving Rod Taylor that vote, that win. He was never going to get it. Rod Taylor, and he got mad at me. Rod Taylor, well, I put out a nice little picture of John Sweet. Let me see if I got that picture. It's a lovely picture. Let me see here. There's John Sweet. Yeah, I guess he's the unofficial chaperone for the drag queen party. I don't know. Maybe that's John's thing now. But I posted that Tuesday, the night before the meeting, and Rod Taylor got mad at me. And he even made a public post telling people, you know, I don't know who made that post with John Sweet at the drag party, but it just cost any chance of me being able to get a positive vote from him. I don't think that was exactly what he said, but I'm paraphrasing there. John Sweet was never going to give you the vote, Rod. I don't know. You've learned nothing, man. You've learned nothing in the 4 years. Rod, I am happy you are not running for office, because it gives me the opportunity not to have to tell people, well, do you want to support someone who promises not to raise taxes, but raise taxes? Do you want to support someone who promises not to shut down public land, but then goes and shuts down public land? Do you want someone who the first thing they do when they get into office want to pass a prayer and they don't get the prayer? Now we have to stand for a moment of silence. I don't know, Rod. It's getting harder and harder to support you. And then you come up with stuff like this where you get mad at me because I do a preemptive strike against John, who was never going to give you the vote And yet you and your good graces, you think, oh, I can persuade him. In my Christianly wisdom, I can persuade John to go my way. He was never going to go your way. And that's why I did this preemptive strike. And you know why I did that, Rod? Because it was the only way to get people to call John all day on Tuesday. He got calls, he said, all the way up to 10 o'clock. He was having to return phone calls. They were bugging the hell out of him. He was taking all kinds of heat on social media. And we were able to get, I don't know, what, about 30, 40 people to the meeting? Rod Taylor, I ask you, when's the last time you got 30 or 40 people to the meeting? Oh, I know. They haven't been coming to the meeting. Why? Because they've lost faith in you, Rod Taylor. And then we got to deal with John Sweet, who somehow he's signaling to you and Drew, oh, I might vote against this. No, he's not, because that's not what he told people. So going back to Steve Nye and saying that John's a great guy, no, he's not. He's a lying, two-faced bastard. I'll give you another lie. John Sweet said that the Indians came to him the last time that they had this contract on the Coos Bay Wagon Road, when the fact was John went to the Indians. Now, it's a huge difference. It's a huge difference when you're negotiating. If you're at a weaker point of negotiating, you're the one going and trying to get the negotiating started. He's trying to say that the Indians were in that weaker position and came to the county. That wasn't true. The county went to the Indians. They need the Indians more than the Indians need the county, because the Indians already have our money and they got a casino. So why wouldn't they? So John, when you're out there chaperoning the drag queen party, I hope you have a good time. I hope you have a really good time with the kids and the drag queens. But I want you to know that I have no respect for you whatsoever. Here, Peggy, let's see. I got a few comments on John. Let me go ahead and put them out there. Here, Peggy says, I called and emailed John Sweet regarding the gay prom. He did not acknowledge my call nor my email. F him. I agree with you, Peggy. F you, John. F you. You old washed up man, you need to go. Deb says, same here. Same here. Deb calls you up and what? You don't give a damn about these people. You don't care about Deb. You don't care about Peggy. Does that tell you something, Steve Nye? Steve Nye, oh, John's a really nice guy. You know why you say that, Steve? Because you're a really nice guy. But I got news for you. Politics is a dirty, nasty business. And this man might have a smile on his face. He might shake your hand. He might tell you some good, kind words, but he's a dirtbag. He's been a dirtbag since he's been in office, and he'll be a dirtbag well long past the time he leaves this earth. Let me tell you, dirtbag. So that's just my opinion of John. But I want to take it back to what I was talking about at the beginning of the show, going back 16 years. Remember, I was talking about Tom Brown. He passed away, and one of the first places that I met him was at an event. It was a Tea Party event. Let me see if I can remove this. Let's see if I can get this up here. And this is from 16 years ago. I used to write letters. I used to write letters to the editor of the World newspaper and the Western World when the Western World still existed. And here you go. This is, let's see, what year is this? This is tired of taxes and ready to rally. This is a letter that I wrote to the editor many, many years ago. And here it says, with tax day approaching, our frustration is only exceeded by our anger with the lack of fiscal responsibility of the political leaders in Washington. I don't know who said that, but that guy was a genius. We believe the taxpayer shouldn't suffer tax rage in solitude, but should unite in a protest to end this recklessly immoral spending spree. Since September 2008, people have watched two presidents and the U.S. legislature steal from the income earners to reward the wealth wasters with unjustifiable bailouts. Dissatisfied? Then don't take it anymore. Stand with the Campaign for Liberty. In defiance of our monetary oppressors on this onerous day, you're invited to a tea party on Wednesday, April 15th, starting at 3 p.m. at the main post office in Coos Bay. and 470 Golden Avenue. Now, I'm not announcing something that's happening. If you look at this date, it's April 2nd of 2009. Yeah, I've been doing this a little while, folks. I've been doing this a little while. That was a letter I sent to the editor. And so one of the reasons that we were fighting against the bailouts, because they were bailing out several different companies, they were also pushing Obamacare. Remember Obamacare? They didn't call it Obamacare in the legislature. They called it the Affordable Health Care Act. Of course, since they've passed it, nobody's been able to afford health care. So once again, the oxymoron in their statement only leaves you to wonder what kind of idiots these people really are. Or maybe they're just corrupt. I don't know. I'm not a nice guy. I think they're a little of both. They're idiots and they're corrupt. But the reason we fought against the Affordable Health Care Act, it's one of the platforms that communists use to take over the government. How better to take over a people than having the ability to refuse health care to groups of people you don't like? I mean, maybe those white Christian nationalists, we don't want to pay for their health care. The only people we need to pay health care for are all the drag queens and all the trans operations. Yeah, because that's what Oregon State uses to pay for all of those trans operations that go on here. There's a lot of trans tourism to Oregon. They come to Oregon, they come as Tommy, they leave as Tammy. Yeah, you have a lobotomy in the state of Oregon, and we, the Oregon's taxpayers, we pay for it. Yeah, I didn't know whether you know that or not, but yeah, there's actual trans tourism going on in the state of Oregon. They come in to have a lobotomy. And I guess that works even for women, because they got to have a mastectomy where they remove the breast and then they put on a penis. And then somehow they think it makes them the opposite sex. And of course, now we're finding out that a lot of these people who have been transitioned don't like the fact that they've been transitioned. They feel like they've been manipulated by the medical system, their own doctors. And of course, they're asking for the reversal, which we will also have to pay for. And once again, this all goes back to socialized medicine. You don't want socialized medicine. If people had to pay for their own transsexual surgeries, there would have been a lot less of them. But how do you mess up a country more so than confusing people about their own sexuality? And then you use the healthcare to hold up that ability to confuse young people about their sexuality. And then you have a lot of power and influence. How does that power influence, though, translate to Oregon here? Well, the Affordable Health Care Act, that money comes out of the feds and it goes to an entity called the Oregon Health Authority. Or as I like to say, the Oregon Health Authority. The Oregon Health Authority. We got authority here. Don't question my authority. That's the Oregon Health Authority. And they get a lot of money. They get a lot of money from Obamacare, the Affordable Health Care Act. And they've lost hundreds of millions of dollars. You just go to Google. You don't have to take my word for it, because I might be a lying bastard. Go to Google and look up scandals by the Oregon Health Authority. You'll find about a dozen of them. And so Oregon Health Authority, they then take the money that they get from the feds and they give it to the counties. One of the places they give it to the counties, of course, is Coos Health and Wellness. So, when John Sweet says, oh, it's not your tax dollars. Well, once again, he's a lying bastard, because, it takes 86 years to be that much of a lying bastard. And he doesn't give a damn about your money. He doesn't give a damn about anyone else. It's his own ego that he cares about. But he still voted to give your tax dollars, whether they be federal money or not, to this perversion, this pedoprom, which came from Coos Health and Wellness, which got the money from the Oregon Health Authority, which got the money from the Affordable Health Care Act. And it's all socialized medicine. And the reason they do this, and the main reason that they wanted the group that's doing the Pride Prom, the reason they wanted to do that is so that they have the legitimacy of not only Coos Health and Wellness, which is the county government, But the people who support Coos Health and Wellness, the Oregon Health Authority, which is the state government, and then, of course, the Affordable Health Care Act, the federal government. See, this is what they want. They want to legitimize their perversion, and they want to make all you taxpayers culpable in their perverted acts. You're paying for this perversion. And so I don't know what to tell you. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Let me get to a comment here. Remember this. It says, Rob Taylor report, you are brutally honest, and I respect that. A certain person made the statement that I am a follower and will live stream the Pride Prom. I am just concerned and want to see what they are doing. And I think that's perfectly fine. I think that's perfectly fine that you want to go and observe because you paid for it. You paid for it, so why shouldn't you observe? In fact, it's going to get very interesting at this Pride Prom. And I'm getting ready to talk about that now. So we're going to switch over. And once again, did you see where I connected going back to 2009, fighting against the Affordable Health Care Act, which we failed? We got that. It was socialized medicine, and that's why we were fighting against it. So that 16 years down the road, I wouldn't have to be fighting against giving money to a pedo prom. 16 years. I remember in 2009, people go, oh, Rob, what's so wrong? Don't you want people to have health care? Oh, I want people to have health care. I just want them to pay for it. So when they want to cut off their penises or cut off children's penises or whatever else they want to cut off on children, that somebody other than me is paying for it. This was 16 years ago. We warned you people. We had a rally. I just showed you the newspaper where we had a rally at the post office. We marched all the way to the boardwalk from the post office in this protest. And the entire way we were saying the socialists were coming. The socialists were coming. Nobody cared. They just called us a bunch of crazy right-wingers. And then, of course, Oregon Health Authority, that was created in 2011, 2012. Not very old, is it? In fact, the letter I just sold you to the editor of the newspaper, that was written in 2009. We didn't even have an Oregon Health Authority when that letter was written. But of course, the Affordable Health Care Act passed, and then Oregon passed the Oregon Health Authority because they want authority over everything that you consider health, which is pretty much everything. And then they come down to the level of the county, Coos Health and Wellness, and the next thing you know, we're promoting pedo proms. It's kind of sick, which then leads to protest. Well, of course there's going to be protest. I'm not doing a protest. I'm not going to be protesting no pedo prom. Why? Because it's on February 14th. I'm going to take my wife out to a nice dinner. You know, I pretty much already told John Sweet to go F himself, and I told Drew Farmer to F himself too. I mean, both of them can go to hell. I really don't give a damn about either of them. And in fact, the fact that Drew Farmer voted to give money to these perverts, that's why I tried to get Bob Maine reelected. It wasn't because Bob Maine was a fabulous politician. It wasn't that Bob Maine was incredible and we couldn't live without him. No, it was because Bob Maine would have made most of the same decisions that Drew Farmer has made. Even Drew has made some good decisions. Bob would have made those decisions, and unlike Drew Farmer, who's all about the pedo prom, Bob Maine wouldn't have been for the pedo prom. And I know this because I talked to Bob Maine, was it yesterday, the day before yesterday? He called me up and he couldn't believe what they were giving money to. But he expected it. That's why I tried to get Bob Maine reelected. And I know that I fought against Bob Maine. A lot of people couldn't understand. Why would you try to get that man reelected? Because unfortunately, he's a better choice than Drew Farmer. And now you know why. But there's going to be protest. And I want to show you some of the protests. Let me see if I can get the flyer here first. Let me put the flyer up first. Here's the flyer. I don't know who made this. I don't know where this came from. I don't know what group's organizing this. This ain't from me, so do not blame me. I don't know who made this. I don't know where it came from, but it says stop the prom. Stop the prom flag waving to oppose an all ages, LGBTQ, whatever, drag show for kids. All patriots from across Oregon show up in opposition. And from what I hear, from what I've seen on the post, they're going to bring in a whole bunch of people to protest this prom. Can you believe this? I'm I'm not going to be there. I'll probably watch the people who are going to live stream, like Steve Nye is going to live stream. I think TJ from Family Stocks Farm is going to be there live, and I think another gentleman by the name of Chris Tuff, he's going to be here. I got a video for you.
Here is why we cannot find common ground with the lunatic left liberals. They will parade their children into a place like this, fill the seats to watch this prom drag show. I don't want to live in a world where this is okay. I picked my side. This is not okay. I will never be okay with this. I will never find common ground with people that will line their children up in front of these sick, depraved, disgusting people that want to dress up like women and perform in front of children. So on Saturday, Valentine's Day, you will see me at the Pony Village Mall with my bullhorn in hand, live streaming on my X and my YouTube channel. Pray with me. Don't play with me.
And there you go. That's Chris Tuff. Chris called me today. He wanted to know if I was going to be at the protest. And I said, no. I did my protesting at the commissioners meeting, and I'll do my protesting at the ballot box. I do know that Rod Taylor, he's not running for re-election, and there's a candidate running for his position that I'll probably support, and that's Rick Coleman. The other gentleman who's running against Rod Taylor is a lefty. His name is Osborne. I wonder if Osborne would have voted for this nonsense. I guess I should email him and ask him, but he's a lefty from what I understand. And of course, John Sweet, he's running for office. He's 86. If he wins, he will be in office. If he's successful in serving his full term, he will serve his full term and he'll be out at 90 years old. Do you want a 90-year-old man representing you? I mean, if he was intelligent and smart and had a lot of clever things to say, yeah, I might want a 90-year-old man. But John Sweet, I mean, he's crusty and old now. I mean, he's only going to get crustier and older. It's just gross. But Chris Tuff here, he had it right on the mark. I picked my side too. This isn't just about giving money to any old event, which we shouldn't. I mean, if the county, they wanted to give $200 to the Turning Point event, I would have told them, screw you. I don't want your money. I don't want government money going to such a beautiful thing as the Turning Point event that we did. And I certainly don't want it to go to this garbage. But Chris Tuff, he even made a second video. You're going to like this.
The actual flyer for this disgusting Pride Prom drag show. This is what they're pushing out. Does this look kid friendly to you? Does this look like something you'd want to take your kids to? Me neither. I didn't think so. This whole transgender movement, this whole involving your kids in this kind of crap is wrong. And they're pushing this in our local schools all over the U.S. This, you guys, is a fight worth getting into. This is a fight worth stepping up for because it's your kids. It's your kids and your grandkids that are going to be pushed to think that this is normal. They're trying to change the terminology of a pedophile and a rapist to something more calm and a little bit more accepting and inviting. Why are they doing that? Because they want to push this stuff as normal and okay. A pedophile is a pedophile. It's not a minor attracted person. Pray with me. Don't play with me.
And I would sooner pray with you than play with him. That's yeah. Don't mess with Chris Tuff. The guy's pretty serious. And once again, this isn't my rally. I'm not going to be there. I'm not going to be anywhere near the mall. I don't do those things. Just call me crazy. I'll have my own rallies where we rally for something like the Second Amendment. We'll rally or we'll protest against the state when it does all these COVID rules. And I'll go to the boardwalk and I'll break all kinds of laws. We did during COVID. We broke all the COVID mandates. Screw you, Tina Kotek. Screw you. What was it like? Brown, whatever. What was her name? Brown. I can't even think of her name. But no, this is disgusting. This is disgusting. And anyone thinks that this is appropriate for kids, there's something wrong with your head. This and I go back to the fact that I used to work in the sex industry. No, I wasn't walking the streets, but no, I worked for a club that provided adult movies to adults. And one of the things that we made sure was that nobody under 21 got our material. Nobody under 21 was in our material because, number one, we didn't want to get fined. We didn't want to go to jail. It's a crime and it should be that way. But two, I believe adults have a right to go to drag shows. I believe adults have a right to see pornography. I believe it's their right if they want to do that. Anyone under 21? I think you got a problem and you shouldn't be doing that. Absolutely not. Steve Nye just made a great comment. He says, there is no way John wins this election. Brandy Martindale is the next step to improving Coos County. Now, Brandy's not your, what I would call a conservative. However, she's a hell of a lot better than John because I wouldn't call John a conservative either. I think she would have made a lot of the right decisions over the past 2 years that Drew Farmer has been elected. I think she would have made the right decisions. And I think she would have totally, because she was opposed to it when she spoke at the commissioners meeting, I think Brandy Martindale would be opposed to giving money to this perversion show, this pedo prom. And this jacket. This jacket is just something else. This just looks like something that looks like an advertisement for the Pussycat Club that I used to work for. Yeah, man, come down to the Pussycat Club. We're having a pride prom. But the difference is that if you came to the Pussycat Club, you couldn't even get inside the door without showing proper ID. Yeah. Think about that. And yet, here we are, spending our tax dollars on a pride show. It's just incredible to me. It's just incredible. Let's see. I got Cheryl Armstrong says Kate Brown. Yeah, flush it down if it's brown. That's what I always say, Kate Brown. Steve Nye says, I will protest this. My kids and friends will do the same. This is not right. I totally agree with you, Steve. This is not right. And Chris Tuff is right, man. So, but remember, be peaceful. Be peaceful. And here's the problem with protesting protesting at the mall is that the parking lot is the mall property too, and they probably won't let you protest in the parking lot. They probably won't let you protest inside. They'll probably ask you to leave, and they have every right. It's private property. But if you want to go and maybe you're willing to get trespassed, it's really not that much of a charge. And heck, we know nobody goes to jail in Coos County. So I guess if you trespass, that's up to you. Personally, I think everyone should go to this event. That's right. I'm telling everybody to go to this event. And let's see if I can add this to the stage. Right there, there's where you can get tickets. Now, the tickets are on a sliding scale. It goes from being free to whatever you want to give. So I would recommend all you patriots, and here's the link to it. You go to this link right here, and you fill out the form, and you say I want one of the free tickets, and then all of you take the tickets. Yeah, that's why we charged for our event at Turning Point USA. We figured there would be people who would buy tickets to keep some of our people from attending, which is okay because we still got the $5. I may have had fewer people in the seats, but I still got your $5. But here, you don't have to pay nothing, and you can take away one of their seats. See, they can only fit so many people in that building. So I would recommend that all you patriots out there who are going to protest this, and by the way, I'm not one of them. I am not one of them. But those patriots out there who, by the way, have a right, they have every right to protest, and according to you, everyone is welcome to this event, then I would recommend all you patriots out there get a ticket and go get yourself a mocktail. I know you're saying to yourself, what the hell is a mocktail? What are you talking about? A mocktail? Well, that's one of the other things that you'll be allowed to drink there. This is what they're serving to keep. They're trying to keep young people from drinking. So they're definitely, this is the wrong way of going about it. I mean, Little Pony Mocktail Lounge. Yes, candy, cigarettes, and cigars sold here. This is the little baby. This is what will it be, bub? What will it be? Your choice, And so, and if parents take their kids to a bar and they get them a Shirley Temple or a Roy Rogers, those are non-alcoholic drinks, that's the parents doing it. This is the taxpayers doing it. So I would recommend that you guys get that link and you go to this event and you celebrate the hell out of protesting this perversion, And so once again, I'm not going to be there. Not going to be there, but I think it should definitely be protested if you people feel that strongly about it. I definitely think that. And it says Stocks Family Farm says, I'm definitely not going to be welcome. And that's very true, TJ. It's funny, TJ was on the Friday night rant and I had Emily. Emily was the young lady who organized the counter protest against my Turning Point USA. She was very informative. She was very informative. I didn't realize that we supported fascists because the people in the Trump administration were white Christian nationalists. They were white Christian nationalists. And that's what they're fighting against, is that white Christian nationalism. Okay. Don't see it. Don't know where it's at, but and she really couldn't explain it to you. I guess Stephen Miller is one of the white nationalist Christians. I don't know. I guess he is, and Trump is too. I don't know where she was going with that, but yeah, this event's going to be interesting, and I'd recommend all of you showing up and getting yourself a mocktail. Why the hell not? Let's see. What else? What other news? I know there was other news. I didn't want to spend all that time on just local news. So I have another story. This is something that's a little bit more deals with the federal government and federal issues. Let's see if I can get that up here. There we go. Rahim Kassam. Yes. Yes, one of CNN's reporters. Prepared to be aggressively fumigated, maggot. Yeah, this was from CNN's Baccarat Sellers demands fumigation of MAGA. This was on CNN. Let me play you this video. Let me see if I can play this for you.
Joe Biden was somewhat of a bridge. He was supposed to be a bridge or a palate cleanser or somebody who morally and ethically was antithetical to who Donald Trump was. Uncle Joe was the nice guy, older white guy, comes in and you want to eat ice cream with him, right? Well, I think what that episode in our country's history showed us is that we really need some fumigation, right? We need a exorcism, for lack of a better term. We need a more aggressive approach to go in and surgically remove the cancer that is the Donald Trump and MAGA movement.
So that's their goal, folks, is that they want to remove the tumor, the cancerous tumor that is the MAGA Trump administration. So there's no doubt about it. And then when you got people like Emily who are telling us, oh, no, you guys aren't the fascists. It's not you that we hate. It's the white nationalist or the white Christian nationalist up there, Stephen Miller. And you're like, okay, all right. So you're saying I'm not a fascist. So why would I go to an event that's promoted and supported by fascists? Either I'm a fascist or I'm really freaking stupid. So which is it? Are we freaking stupid or are we fascist? I mean, I think I'd rather be a fascist, even though I know we're not. And I know the people I'm going and supporting are not fascist, but I'd rather be called a fascist than just plain stupid. Wouldn't you? I don't know. Just a thought. Let's see. Steve Nye says it's $20 per ticket. Oh, no, Steve. Go look. It's a sliding scale. You can pay nothing. You can get a free ticket. Go look at the Eventbrite. Let me see if I can pull that up. I'll see if I can find that for you. But no, it's not $20. It's a sliding scale. And they even said that at the commissioners meeting. And of course, as soon as they said it, we're all looking at each other. Oh, you could get in free. And I'm paying for the mocktails. Well, hell, I might as well go and have myself a mocktail. I might have too. Ashley Hicks says, I was drinking mocktails since I was double digits every time we went to a restaurant. Another Shirley Temple, please, extra cherries. which is perfectly fine. I have no problem with that, Ashley. That's not what I'm complaining about. My complaint is that as a taxpayer, do you think you should be paying for mocktails? I bet when you went drinking mocktails, you went to restaurants or bars, I bet you paid for it, or the person you went with paid for it, not the taxpayer. So that would be the main difference here. And I really don't think that as a citizen, I should be buying mocktails, fake cocktails for anyone. That's not in our wheelhouse as taxpayers, just my opinion. Stocks Family Farm says, if they get power, they're going to imprison all of us. You'll be first. Yes, that's why I'm not going to the drag meeting. That's the pedo prom. That's exactly why. I will be the first. Yeah, that's even if I get to live. I imagine they will either Charlie Kirk me. That would probably be more what they're looking to do, because they know they can't silence it. You know, we had a Republican senator try to silence me. Have I shut up yet? No. I know a lot of people out there are probably watching this podcast going, oh, please, for God's sake, shut this man up. It's not going to happen, folks. It's not going to happen. My heart would have to stop ticking for me to stop talking. Got it? Stop ticking, stop talking. Just a thought. So the left would have to Charlie Kirk me, because if I went to prison, I'd be the worst kind of prisoner. I'd be organizing all the other prisoners. Yep, I'd be, and you guys know me. You know me. You know how I am. That's just the way I work. I'd be organizing all the prisoners, and then we would find out who the legal experts were, and I'd be starting to get some of the other prisoners out, and we'd have work camps for them when they were outside of prison and stuff. And yeah. I don't know if you want to send me to prison, because I would organize a huge prison gang. And the first one we'd come and get is John Sweet and Drew Farmer. Yep, my prison gang is coming to get you. So it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty. Ashley says, mom or grandma paid for it. Definitely not the government. I miss those days. Yeah. You know, I took my son. It was funny. I took my son to, what's that restaurant? Hooters, which I didn't think was all that bad. I mean, you know why they call them Hooters. I know they got the cute little owl, but we really know why they call them Hooters. And if you've ever been to Hooters and you've seen the outfits that the young ladies wear, you would know why they call them Hooters. And I took him there when he was 13, but I took him there. I chose him to take him there. And none of the girls were naked, and none of them were doing anything sexual, unlike what you would probably see at a drag show. Why would a guy dress as a woman want to entertain children as a woman and not somehow find something of a sexual content in that? That's just weird. And then you have men, there are actual men who get off on dressing as women and having sex or being attracted to other women or children. This is I forget the term for it. Men who like to dress as women because they're, and do it because somehow it turns them on sexually. It's very weird. Very weird. Ashley Hicks says, LOL, Hooters. Hell yeah. And they had Hooters had great hot wings. They had really good hot wings. When we were leaving Portland, I'd always stop by the Hooters and get those hot wings and cheap beer, really good beer. And so I didn't think there was anything wrong with that. But then again, I'm the parent. I'm the one deciding. This is an all ages show. So technically, an 11-year-old kid can show up to this event, the pedo prom, get into the pedo prom. There may be 50-year-old, 60-year-old men over there. And of course, it's a prom. What do you do on prom? Well, you're looking to hook up. That's what prom is all about. And of course, it's on Valentine's. What do you do on Valentine's? Well, you're looking for love on Valentine's. So of course, you want to have a vulnerable 11-year-old who doesn't have a chaperone there, even though there are chaperones there. We don't know who they are, but they're joining in on the pedo prom. And then you've got potentially men there who are pedophiles who could actually now have access to these 11-year-old kids. This is not something out of the realm of reality. This could potentially happen. Now, I know they'll say, well, this could happen to church. Well, yeah, it could happen into church, but the fact is that it's a lot less likely to happen during church, during a church service, than it happening during a drag show where there is a sexual overtone to the whole event. And I go back to an event that's a pedo prom on the 4th of July. I don't know. Is it that hard for you to figure out? I don't know. Let's see. I got a couple of comments here. Steve Nye says the issue is not mocktails, in my opinion. And it's not. It really isn't. It's exposing young people to the things on the flyer. This is a real debate. Let's discuss showing our children drag queens versus church. And I agree. If you're trying to tell me that somehow church is bad, but drag queens are good, I think you need to smoke a little bit more dope and try to figure that one out on your own. But if I raised my kids and they ended up being LGBTQ, wouldn't I feel responsible and defend my poor parenting? No, not really. No, I think people can be queer and be raised, because I know people who grew up in very strict Christian households who grew up gay, and they didn't let their parents know they were gay. And I don't think that it had anything to do with their parents' upbringing, because they did a great job of upbringing them. Some people are just gay. Some people are just queer. I think that a lot of what's going on now is peer pressure. It's a societal thing where they're being infected through through peer pressure. What's the term that I'm trying to look for here, where it's something that they're exposed to, and over time they want to be a part of because everyone else is doing it, and that's the wrong thing to basically promote as far as adults, certainly as far as government. But there are people, I have family and friends who I've known a long time, and they were gay when they were little. We knew they were gay. They just acted gay. They just acted different. And it was okay. Nobody cared. Yeah, they were little Tommy. He likes to dress like a girl, but that's okay. That's little Tommy. And I didn't think it was anything bad on, reflection on his parents. You might have a kid that comes out as a Democrat, a liberal. Ask yourself this, Steve: would you rather your kid be a leftist liberal in the Democrat Party or a gay conservative? If I had to choose between my gay conservative kid and my leftist liberal kid, I think I'm going with the gay conservative. Let your freak flag fly, buddy. That's what I'd be telling my kid. And my leftist liberal kid, I'd be telling them, I'd probably be telling them to get out of the house and get a job, and then you'll probably not be a leftist anymore, because the reality of the situation will slap you in the face so hard you'll be conservative before Tuesday. So yeah, it's that's interesting, Steve, that you put it that way. Steve Nye says let's see. Yeah, I think he repeated his comment, but no, I don't think it's poor parenting that kids grow up gay. There's just some kids who are going to be gay, and it's okay. And here's the thing, that might have been a problem going to a prom back in 1984 when I graduated. If two boys showed up to the prom in 1984, we probably would have kicked their ass. What are you, bunch of queers here? And I don't know. I really don't know, because there were some really femme boys in our class that we all suspected were gay, but yet we didn't have a problem being at the prom. And there was one young lady who was going through transitioning. She was a female to male transition. And this is in 1984. She was at the prom. No one gave her problems. But I think today, in today's world, that kids in proms aren't going to have a problem with other gay kids. I don't see this as a problem. So why they have to segregate themselves and have their own special prom, and then on top of their own special prom, they have a drag show for all ages? I don't know. It just screams like a pedo party to me. I don't know. Ashley says a huge difference between exploitation and exposure to adult activities. I was a kid that got to experience the hot springs as a kid. There was never sex involved, but adults were naked. And, good point. the Jimenez Hot Springs in New Mexico. We as teenagers would hike up to the Jimenez Hot Springs in New Mexico, and we'd get butt ass naked, girls and boys, probably from the ages 16 on up to 21. We would have our beer. We would be butt ass naked swimming in the hot springs. And that's because the upper hot springs in Jimenez Mountains, it's a much longer hike. So if you were willing to hike that hike and you could get up there, all of us were thrilled because we knew there were going to be no adults around. And we'd get butt ass naked and we'd go swimming. This is just what happened back in the day. But no government paid for it. And my parents didn't know. In fact, my parents are probably finding out right now, if they're watching this show, that we used to go skinny dipping in the Jimenez Mountains up in the hot springs. But then again, we used to go skinny dipping in our friend's pool at the pool parties. So that really, so kids are going to be kids. Kids are going to expose themselves to sexuality. But here's the difference. We did it among ourselves. There was no 40, 50-year-old man dressed as a woman coming in to help us with this experience. And I don't know why we need those guys here now. Kids will find out about sexuality in their own progression through their own evolution. And that's why I was talking about a couple of shows ago that sexuality for kids is back in the brain. This is back in the brain. But if you start giving them sexual material and you start giving them sexual ideas, it comes to the forefront. It's in the frontal lobe now. And all of a sudden, with all the imagery and visual that kids can get on the internet and stuff, they really start putting sexuality at the forefront of their mind, and that can lead to bad things. I mean, we've got a lot of people out there who are sex addicts. Like I said, I was in the industry. I know a lot of sex addicts out there. They cannot control themselves. And then to have government sanctioned all age pedo proms, I think is a little bit of a problem. I don't know. It's just where we are today. So I wanted to get back to what else did I want to? So I showed you that video of how the left, they want to get rid of MAGA, and the reason they want to get rid of MAGA, and the reason people like Emily are so mad, are not mad, but she believes that the white Christian nationalists are pushing and promoting their agenda on us. And maybe she's right. Maybe there is white nationalist agenda being pushed down her throat. I don't know. I don't believe so. I don't see it, but maybe she's right in some conspiracy world. I don't know. But the thing is that she acted like this is something that should just be normal, that these things is okay to do. And it was clearly not. She acted like, once again, that church is somehow a church service and kids getting molested by priests was the same as this pedo prom. No, it's not, because first off, the churches will get rid of the priests. They'll get rid of the pedophiles. They don't want them there. They don't want the lawsuits. So yeah, it's a huge difference. Steve Nye says, gay is normalized. The Bible and the word of Christ does not agree. The slipping down of our society. Yeah. And Christians have every right in the world to believe that, but that's why they believe that there are white Christian nationalists who want to shove their beliefs, this belief that the Bible, the word of Christ, does not agree with the normalization of the gay lifestyle. And it doesn't, and it shouldn't. You shouldn't. If you don't agree with that, you shouldn't think it should be normalized. And the one thing I agree with Christians on, I don't want to pay for it, and I don't want to pay for the normalization of being gay. I think that's, and even with trans people, even worse. I think if you're born a man and you want to be a woman, or if you're a woman and want to be a man, there's something mentally wrong with you. And even they admit, that's what they kept saying at the commissioners meeting, that, well, you've got to give money to this group because, gay kids and lesbian kids and trans kids, they commit suicide at a higher rate. Well, why do you think that is? Maybe it's because they're mentally unstable. I mean, Christian kids are picked on. Christian kids are, and that was something I pointed out at the meeting, that Christian kids get picked on just as much as gay kids because of their religion, as much as gay kids get picked on for their sexuality. And I know this because at the Turning Point event and leading up to the Turning Point event, I talked to a lot of high schoolers who said that they don't like to talk about their religion. They don't like to talk about their Christianity because, well, people will make fun of them. They will get bullied. And then I talked about that at the meeting and how there were mothers calling me up. And this happened. This happened. Where were mothers who were calling me up saying they were terrified to take their kids to this Turning Point event. They wanted to go to the Turning Point event, but they couldn't because they were afraid their kids were going to get murdered in the streets. And they were justified in believing that because that's what the people on the other side were saying in many of their posts. And it may not have been Emily's post. It may not have been the organizers who were doing that. It's irrelevant. When you have people threatening you and threatening your kid's life, do you want to go to an event? I wouldn't want to take my kid to an event where there are people who are saying, oh, you might end up Charlie Kirk. And there were mothers who were terrified about that. And there are kids, Christian kids, who are getting bullied in school. But yet they don't seem to have that suicide rate that the gay kids and the trans kids have. And I would say it's probably because being gay and being trans is a mental issue. It's not normal. And I know that we shouldn't probably generalize and tell people, oh, well, you're normal, you're not normal. But the fact is that most people aren't gay. And there's a reason they're not gay. We got to propagate the species. You can't propagate the species when you got two of the same kind trying to do that. It doesn't work. And you certainly can't cut off one part and put on another part and expect it to change any. It's still the same. It's still the same equation. Biology, you can't change biology. You're born with an XX and you're born with an XY. That's what you're going to die with. And they dig you up 1,000 years from now, guess what? They're going to give you a DNA test. You're still going to be an XX or an XY. Not an X maybe. There is no X maybe. That doesn't exist. So it's very scary. And Ashley says, I don't want to pay for it either. I didn't think so. So this was a pretty complicated subject. Before I get out of here, let's see. I got to let's see if I can share this with you guys. There is an event happening here, and this has to do with election integrity. I know we went from talking about the drag show, socialized medicine, and now we're going right back to election integrity. I know, it's crazy. I'm just crazy out here, I tell you. And that's a Dr. Frank flyer. The Dr. Frank flyer. Say that 3 times. And Dr. Frank, who's a great guy, Dr. Douglas Frank, I think he has proven without a doubt that our elections are being manipulated. He has shown that the voter registration and the algorithms that have created the situation where almost every single county is building up the voter registration, all of them are the same. They almost come to a unified line. It's very weird, and I can't explain it all. That's why you need to go to this event. Does your vote count? Probably not. I don't know. If you're voting for John Sweet, your vote definitely doesn't count. But he was a Nobel Prize nominee, so obviously he's done something right. You don't get nominated for a Nobel Prize for just doing nothing. But Dr. Douglas Frank, he's going to be here Monday, February 23rd from 6 to 8:30 p.m. at the Coos Bay Library Myrtlewood Room. I'm going to see if I can get a interview with him beforehand. I got to give him a call and see what he's up to, but he'll be in the area. I recommend you go check him out because this is a free event. Donations are always welcome. We're not going to charge you to come to this event. And oh, you can't see it. I'm sorry. Here I am telling you all about this flyer and you can't even see it. Here it is. Is that better? Is that better? Does that help you out a little bit better? Good. So here it is, the Dr. Frank flyer. Follow the data, not an opinion. It's all about facts, folks. These are facts. These are numbers that that we get from the Secretary of State and the county clerk's office that we use to prove that there is voter fraud, very much voter fraud. And so you can check out this event Monday, February 23rd at 6 o'clock at the Coos Bay Library. I highly recommend it. It should be a good one. Dr. Frank is always entertaining. I got a couple of comments I got to get to. Let's see. Doug Farrell. Hey, Doug. Glad to see you watching. Glad to see Doug. I hope Gail's with you. Setting children up to be given inappropriate sexual attention by those with significant age differences when there are below the age of consent, which is 18 years of age, is immoral and illegal according to both California and Oregon penal codes. And you are absolutely right. Why would a commissioner vote for that? Why would John Sweet vote for that? I mean, I know he sees that Drew Farmer won. He sees that Drew Farmer is popular, and he sees all the protests out on the boardwalk, you know, the No Kings rallies and stuff. And so, of course, he's going to move more to the left. I mean, the commissioners is supposed to be a nonpartisan position. Of course, he is a Republican. He claims to be a Republican. He's certainly not a conservative. I definitely not a Christian, because no Christian would have voted for, you know, the pedo prom. But yeah, it's why would a commissioner do that? Why would a commissioner vote to give money to such a horrible thing? Yeah, I think the voters need to. I think you need to ask yourself that question before you vote. And you may not like Brandy Martindale. You may not like Brandy Martindale's politics, but I can tell you what, Brandy Martindale isn't going to vote to give money to pedophiles. Just a thought there. Ashley says, I have a cousin in Arkansas that got beat up regularly in school for not being racist. And I could see that too. In Texas in 1984, every other word out of people's mouth was, you know what, the N-word. I'll go ahead and say it's the nigger word. That it's a horrible word. And back in Texas, back in the 80s and the 70s and further beyond, that word was mentioned over and over and over and over again in all conversations. And it's a disgusting word. It's a word that I myself have tried to eliminate from my vocabulary. But I also hate the fact that people, oh, it's the N word. It's the N word. Well, you can say the word. It's disgusting. It's revolting. It's inappropriate. But you can say the word. The word is nigger. And it's absolutely disgusting. And we shouldn't be teaching our kids to say those horrible things. It's a bad thing, but we also have to recognize that those things exist. You know, and I've had conversations with black people about that word, and there are a lot of black people who'll tell you it really, it's not that big of a deal, but we still shouldn't be promoting it. Just like the drag queens. I mean, you know, if people were using that word and there was an event and that word was going to be used over and over, like a rap concert, because I use that word in rap songs all the time. Yeah, that word is used in rap concerts all the time. You know, would you want your money going to a rap concert that used that word? No, not at all. Ashley says, I like Brandy. Yeah, I like Brandy too. Steve Nye says, can we please get Rod to run again? Nicole Taylor. Yeah, I don't know if Rod could win, Steve. That's the sad part, is I don't know if Rod would be able to win. And unfortunately, it's not because of anything other than Rod's vote as a commissioner. Rod broke a lot of his political promises, and he realized that the game wasn't played the way he thought it was played. He didn't know and realize what was entailed in the position, but that still doesn't change his votes. So I don't know if Rod could win. It's kind of scary, but Steve says, I'll donate 20 hours a week to help. He would need 20 hours a week. He would definitely need 20 hours a week. That would be interesting if Rod ran again. That would be very interesting. We would have to see. I don't know. Like I said, once you violate the election promises that he's violated, then where do we go from there? I don't know. I kind of want new people. I want fresh blood in there. And I I think it would be a better, I mean, it was, you know, I supported Bob Maine, but even Drew Farmer, you know, as much as I disagree with him and think he's a lousy politician, it's sometimes nice to have new people on there because you get tired of the same old, same old. But sure would be nice if the new people were more conservative and didn't vote for drag proms. That would be nice. I don't know. Just saying. Just a thought. And I'll tell you what, Rod better smarten up, and he better realize that John Sweet is not his friend, and he's a lying bastard, and Drew isn't any better. That's what needs to. You get Rick Osborne, nice guy. Yeah, I know. If not, we get Rick Osborne. He's a nice guy, but I wonder if he'd be giving money to the drag queen as well. That'd be interesting. Well, I want to thank you all for joining me today. It's oh, and by the way, there was no Where's 3H Tree Service. That's why I didn't start with Where's 3H Tree Service, because they didn't play today. I'm not sure what went on. I think he was out in the middle of nowhere. That's the thing about his tree service. Sometimes it can take you way out in the middle of nowhere, and nobody's going to find you out there. But if you do need your trees taken down, then there is a place. Well, if I can find the darn, there we go. There is a place you can call of a good family, a good business, 3H Tree Service, 541-294-1800. They can come out and remove those trees with surgical precision. And you know what the cool thing about 3H Tree Service is? Talk about people who care. This is a video of people who care. That was Matt Holman clearing out the freeway on his own time, on his own dime. That's right. On his own time and his own dime. That's how much these people care about our county. 3H Tree Service. So return the favor. If you need that type of service, call 3H Tree Service at 541-294-1800. Oh, and of course, Tom and Gigs, if you need your auto repaired, you need to find out if your car is travel worthy. I wish I would have done this a couple of weeks ago. I needed to find out my car was travel worthy about 3 weeks ago. It wasn't, and it turned out really bad. But you don't have to make that mistake. You can go to Tom and Gigs, set up an appointment at Tom and Gigs, and find out if your car is travel worthy. They'll check it out and let you know. And you can reach them at 541-888-4660. They are in Coos Bay, but they're in the Empire neighborhood at 135 South Shoneman Street, right behind the car wash. And if you know where the Empire neighborhood is, you know where the car wash is. And here's their store. You can get lift kits and performance accessories. You can get shocks, struts, alignments. You need a new muffler. Heck, they'll throw a new muffler on there. And they've got neat little toys. They got these cool drones, this alias drones. That's pretty cool. They got these nice RC cars that just rock. Look at that. Tom and Gigs for all your RC needs. And they got all the parts for these cars and these boats. It's amazing, all the little parts there. It's like a little a Radio Shack store. It's really cool. And yeah, you can get a Hero copter. Yeah. All kinds of interesting stuff, even planes. And yep, RC cars of any shape and color. And remember, they sell tannerite, but you have to be 18 years or older to purchase the tannerite. And yes, you'll be asked to show an ID. What do you think it is? You think you're voting or something? No. This isn't like voting where anyone can just be allowed to vote. No, you actually have to show your ID. That's how you get the tannerite. Just a word of caution for you. And of course, my other sponsor, Herbal Choices. If you're looking for good quality cannabis, I can tell you right now, Herbal Choices is my choice, dispensary of my choice. You can find out more at the herbalchoices.com website. And Valentine's is coming up, and on the 13th and 14th of February, they've got edibles, they've got leafy pot, they got a regular pot on sale, the leaf, the actual plant. I mean, you can get edibles, you can get sodas, you can get all kinds of neat things, extracts, but they will be having a sale on a lot of those items coming up on the 13th and 14th for Valentine's Day. So if you got a Valentine who enjoys to imbibe in the Herbal Choices, then the Herbal Choice is the place that you need to go. And remember, you must be 21 years or older. Why? Because we're not commissioners giving money out to a drag show. No. We actually believe in keeping and protecting children from things that they shouldn't be exposed to. And they shouldn't be exposed to be able to get cannabis. So yeah, 21 years or older. It's not like your commissioners who want to expose your children to pedophiles. No, actually at Herbal Choices, they will ask you for your ID, and they have 5 locations: Charleston, Coos Bay, Bandon, Reedsport, and North Bend. Good stuff going on there. And abstinence, because it's a fight, folks. It's a fight. Christians know this. You know, virtue, the more virtuous you are, the more godly you become. Not as in you are God, but as in closer to God. The more you get closer to God, the more virtuous you are. And the way to be virtuous is to abstain from vice. Vice is a very bad thing. There's a lot of vice out there. I have a lot of vices over the years, and I've had to learn to get rid of those bad habits. I know people will call them addicted. You're addiction. You're addicted. Everyone's addicted to everything. You know, I guess if you're addicted, I was addicted to chocolate. I have a vice towards chocolate, and that's one vice I haven't given up yet because I got a sweet tooth. What can I tell you? But people should abstain. You should abstain, because being virtuous is a good thing, and it's not easy. It's not easy being virtuous. All those patriots out there, all those patriots who want to stop this perversion, this pride prom, they want to force children to abstain from being exposed to this. That's a good thing. It's a good thing to be virtuous. So that's what you need to work on. You need to stop your vices. You need to work on virtue. I don't know. Maybe I'm preaching here. I didn't mean to do that. And of course, Oregon Firearms Federation. I got to get Kevin on the show one of these days. I talked to him a couple of days ago. I was asking him about the governor's race and stuff. And oh boy, he's just I'll tell you, he just gives you a dose of reality that once again makes you want to drink heavily. I don't know, but he's fighting a good fight. Oregon Firearms Federation. They're still in court. They're still in court fighting against Measure 114, which there's another bill that they debated. Was it today or yesterday? That they want to codify Measure 114 with new laws. So you fight these battles in courts, and then the legislature comes out and passes more laws that you have to fight in court. Well, it's a nonstop fight, and OregonFirearms.org has dug in to fight that fight. And if you want to help them out, they're a good place to give a donation to, because they're actually fighting for your Second Amendment rights. Unlike the Republicans, most of the Republicans in the legislature, Oregon Firearms Federation is really fighting for your Second Amendment rights. Just a thought there. They're not my sponsors, but I highly recommend, if you own a firearm, learn how to use it. And if you live in Bandon, the Bandon Gun Club .org is one place to find out more about learning and honing that skill. So just a little advice, TaigaSportsPark.org. You can also go there, because they don't have a rifle range at the Bandon Gun Club, but they do have a rifle range, 100-yard rifle range at the Taiga Sports Park. So TaigaSportsPark.org. And you'll be able to find out if they're open or not. And the Coos County Neighborhood Watch, what a good group of people. I recommend, if you're in Coos County, you want to find out about crime, Coos County Neighborhood Watch is where you want to go. And on this Wednesday at 6 o'clock on the Coos County Citizen Council podcast, Danielle Bethel is going to be on the show, and you're going to be able to ask her questions. I bet you Danielle Bethel wouldn't have given money to the drag show. I'm just willing to bet. And she's not a big fan of John Sweet. No, it was funny. We had Bethel came in to talk to us about her campaign, and Drew Farmer was there and Rod Taylor was there. And she goes, "Oh, it's so nice to see two of your commissioners, at least the two commissioners that I like. There's one that I have a problem with." And of course she was talking about John Sweet. And I'm thinking, yeah, I can see that. I can see that. So yeah, really, really good stuff. All right. And that's pretty much all I had to talk about this week, as if that wasn't enough. They're stealing your taxes in the legislature. The federal government is still battling to get immigrants out of here who aren't supposed to be out of here. All those foreign criminals that have invaded our country. You've got local governments, people like John Sweet in the commissioner's office giving your money away to a pedo prom. So there's a lot to talk about. So I hope you continue the conversation in your own home. I hope you join me next week. I'm going to work on a guest, and you got to tune in for the Friday night rant. The Friday night rant has been off the hook. I mean, it was a really good this past Friday. We had Emily on here, and Emily and Marty really kept going at it. It was really cool to watch. Marty was just getting upset, and Emily, and they were just really, you know, arguing over certain points that, well, needed to be argued over. So hopefully we'll have that same type of energy on the next Friday night rant. Friday night at 8 o'clock. And once again, you can catch me next Monday at 3 o'clock at the regular place. And until then, folks, carry on, Coos County. Carry on.